Afternoon. Today is Wednesday, June 16th. I'm Shara Jones, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. Mrs. Green, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones? Mayor Jones?
Present.
Comptroller Green?
Here.
President Reed?
Here.
All present.
Distributed at a time, but items presented for the first time are from the Comptroller's Office for approval of contracts and leases for various city departments as listed on Exhibit A. Item number 2, request from the Comptroller's Office for approval of transfers between projects for capital improvement funds as listed on Exhibit B. Item number 3, request from the Comptroller's Office, Deputy Comptroller for approval of the authorization to securely destroy all scanned vouchers numbered 100,000 through 142,297 and invoices for fiscal year 2018, which have been retained electronically. These documents have reached their retention period for disposal and are eligible for destruction in accordance with the state of Missouri and local record retention requirements. Item number 4, request from the Mayor's Office, Director of Operations for approval of Board Bill 3. This ordinance authorizes a grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, in the amount of $1,159,234 to create the St. Louis Circuit Attorney Navigation, Diversion, and Opportunity Program, also referred to as STL Can Do. Number 5, request from the Mayor's Office, Director of Operations for approval of Board Bill number 4. This ordinance authorizes a grant agreement with the United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance in the amount of $359,714 to be used for Innovation Prosecution Solutions for Combating Violent Crime Program. Item number 6, request from the Mayor's Office for approval of Board Bill 27. This ordinance authorizes a grant agreement with the Missouri Office of Crime Victim Services in the amount of $5,000 to fund the protection program for witnesses of violence. Item number 7, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 45. This ordinance authorizes a lease agreement number AL-217 with Southwest Airlines for the exclusive use of 2 buildings, Cargo City buildings number 4A and 5A, for cargo handling and ground service equipment maintenance. Item number 8, request from the Community Development Administration, Director of Housing, for approval of the following changes to the 2020 Annual Action Plan to reflect the actual grant award administered by the Department of Housing and Urban Development as follows: $756,041 for CDBG housing production, $175,457 for home housing production, and $189,010 for CDBG CDA administration. Item number 9, request from the President of the Board of Aldermen for approval of Board Bill 53. This ordinance authorizes the annual appropriation from the City Public Transit Sales Tax Funds, Account 1, in the amount of $10,523,000 to the Bi-State Development Agency for fiscal year 2022 pursuant to Ordinance 63168, approved August 2nd, 1994. Item number 10, request from the President of the Board of Aldermen for approval of Board Bill number 54. This ordinance authorizes the annual appropriation from the City Transportation Trust Fund in the amount of $20,110,000 to the Bi-State Development Agency for fiscal year 22. And item number 11, request from the President of the Board of Aldermen for approval of Board Bill number 55. This ordinance authorizes the annual appropriation from the City Public Transit Sales Tax Fund, Account 2, in the amount of $10,523,000 to the Bi-State Development Agency for fiscal year 2022 pursuant to ordinance 64111, approved November 4th, 1997. I would like to separate out items 1, 9, 10, and 11, and will accept a motion for any other items presented for the first time.
I move for adoption of items 1 through 8 as printed. I mean, 2 through 8, excuse me, 2 through 8 as printed. It has been moved and properly seconded to approve items number 2 through 8. Ms. Green, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Comptroller Green,
Comptroller Green, you're on mute.
you're muted.
Sorry about that. Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
all in favor. Mayor,
Should receive, I'm sorry.
can we hear
We
you?
can hear you,
Okay,
Madam Mayor.
I'll start over. I'd like to move to amend item number 1 to add the following 4 contracts from the Department of Health. You should have received each of these in an email from Denise Roberts at 12:17 today. The items in this amendment include a contract of $91,191 with Jean Slay's Boys Club of St. Louis to establish a summer day camp from Fund 1410, Center 1422037, account 5637. A contract of $240,000 and $708 with Girls Inc. of St. Louis to establish 3 summer day camps from Fund 1410, Center 1422037, account 5637. A contract of $77,855 with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater St. Louis to establish a summer day camp from Fund 1410, Center 1422037, account 5637, and a contract of $300,000 with Heat Up St. Louis for utility assistance funded out of Fund 1116, Center 7000002, account 5659.
Second.
Properly seconded. I'm sorry, Ms. Green, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Comptroller Green,
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
I move that we adopt item 1 as amended.
Second.
Properly seconded. It's been moved and properly seconded to adopt item 1 as amended. Ms. Green, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Comptroller Green,
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Item amended and approved.
Items number 9 through 11. I believe this is funding for Bi-State.
Yes.
Okay. And before we move forward, can I get a brief update on where we are with Board Bill 1 with the budget?
Well, Board Bill 1 has nothing to do with these 3 items. If you would like for us to do an update on Board Bill 1, I can give you an update on Board Bill 1, but it has nothing, it's not germane to items 9, 10, and 11. So if you wanna, we can make a motion on 9, 10, and 11, and then I'll give you an update on Board Bill 1.
I was hopeful that we'd be further along with Board Bill 1 by now. And would love to get a quick update if you could provide one.
I will. I'll give you an update, but we still have items on the agenda that are before us.
Well, I would like to move to table items 9 through 11. Is there a second?
Second.
And it's been moved and properly seconded to table items 9 through 11. Ms. Green, please call the roll.
Comptroller Green,
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Comptroller Green,
Aye.
President Reed.
No, because Bi-State needs the money, but we can, if you guys want to play with public transportation, play with it.
I'm pretty sure that go ahead,
I
Comptroller.
wanted to ask President Reed, as I look at items 9, 10, and 11, I see fiscal FY '22. Does that mean that these funds are for the next year's fiscal year budget for Bi-State?
No.
I mean, it's a question, yes or no. Is this for next year? Is this for any part of this year?
This is for the upcoming fiscal year.
Thank you for that. I have no further questions. I just know that the city of St. Louis has an upcoming fiscal 2022 budget as well. And I do believe that we can work this out so that all funding can be done. As in the past, you know, we've not ever had an issue where we're funding an agency outside of the city of St. Louis, Madam Mayor, and not funding the city of St. Louis at the same time. So any citizen worth their taxes that they pay to the city of St. Louis would understand that we would want to fund the city of St. Louis in order to deliver their city services to them, you know, pick up the trash, you know, fill potholes, those kinds of things, as well as fund Bi-State in a timely fashion. So it appears that we'll table these until such time that we can do the proper funding for the city and Bi-State. Mr. President, do you have a problem with that?
I'm fine with how.
Thank you for that, Mr. President. I really appreciate it. Madam Mayor, how about you?
I'll have my say so in a minute. Please proceed. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, I agree with the comptroller. You know, we thought that we'd be further along with Board Bill 1 by this time, and we can schedule a special ENA meeting for next week if we need to, but we need to make sure that, as the comptroller so eloquently put it, we need to take care of home first.
Madam Mayor, I am available for a special meeting next week if need be.
So am I.
That's good. That's good to know. Well, anyway, first off, the city will have a budget July 1 because the budget that ENA has already approved will go into effect on July 1. So if you all had a problem with the budget that will go into effect, you should have made your votes apparent when you both voted on it earlier when we passed it out of ENA. So if
Mr. President, I don't understand. Could you be more clear?
The budget that was sent to the Board of Aldermen from ENA, if the Board of Aldermen does not pass that budget by July 1, that budget that was sent from ENA that both of you voted on will become law July 1 with no further action. So that is what is getting ready to happen. So if you all had a problem with the budget that both of you all created, should have said something earlier. So that's the budget that's going to go into effect July 1. If you want to hold up Bi-State for the next
I didn't understand that exactly. I'm real unclear. It appears that when you said to the mayor that you were going to respond about the letter that she sent about Board Bill 1, you were going to do that. Now you're saying publicly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're saying you're not going to respond to that because what we approved as of May 1, moving it over to the Board of Aldermen, you're not going to touch that. And what's going to go into effect is what the Board of ENA sent over to the Board of Aldermen. In other words, that means that there will be no action taken by the Ways and Means Committee. In other words, getting a letter back as to whatever action. That's what I think I heard you say, but if you don't mind, clarity would be helpful here.
Okay, to clarify, we had an unprecedented action taken this budget year that I've never seen in my history, where we voted on a budget with revenue streams in that budget. And one of the revenue streams were cut off during the time the budget was being debated at the Board of Aldermen. The Board of Aldermen just happened upon it through questioning. We had no idea that we had been sent an unbalanced budget. And had we moved forward and voted on that budget the way it would have stood, we would have voted on it under false pretenses with the belief that all of those revenue streams that we all agreed on, the mayor, you, the comptroller, and myself all agreed on, should be part of the budget. But that one of those items was summarily dismissed and removed by our mayor. Now, I sent over a request to say that I thought was very nice, because the board has an opportunity to cut things, but I said, it is not, I don't think that the board should just make arbitrary cuts. I think that the mayor should tell us where she would like to have those things cut. Now we're sitting here. Tomorrow we have one meeting. Then our last meeting before the end of the month is next week. So we're out of time. We have legal issues also within the Board of Aldermen that we have to follow in terms of adopting ordinances. Now, if both of you now have a problem with the budget that both of you voted on, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to do some soul searching on that.
You're just so confusing to me, Mr. President, because in 2019, I believe you and Madam Mayor Lyda Cruzen at the time voted the 2019 budget out with the comptroller, which is myself, not present. So that budget voted out. And then last year, as I finish, I won't be long, then you can take over, but just a couple 30 seconds here. Last year's budget did not return after the Ways and Means brought it back to E&A. This is the first year in my 25 years that the Ways and Means hasn't brought it back to E&A. I think that's a huge issue, because you've just identified an issue that the budget really needs to be handled. And for some reason, you've not pinned that in a letter from the Ways and Means Committee. Instead, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. President, you sent a letter to the mayor, which is unprecedented. A letter should come back to the Board of E&A as the budget was sent from the Board of E&A. The board of E&A sent the budget to the Ways and Means Committee, not the mayor alone. So I don't understand why you're saying you have a problem with a budget that was voted on by all three of us. Even though you may have voted no, it was still voted on by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. And so it does not matter, because in 2019, when I did not vote, it didn't matter, and we passed a budget that was legal. And you're attempting to cause a problem from the words that I hear you're saying today, that you have a problem sending that budget back to the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to be legally corrected. Now, is that what you're trying to do? Actively knowing and stating here publicly today among all of us at the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and the public that you have a problem for letting the Board of Estimate and Apportionment correct it? You're not going to send that back? Is that what I'm hearing from you? And it would be stunning to know that you would move forward in that fashion.
So it's stunning to me that you mentioned everything except for the fact that a major revenue stream was removed from the budget.
That's what's making it needed to come back to the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, because only Estimate and Apportionment, as you stated earlier, can add to the budget. And I'm very clear on what you said, and I did hear you before. It sounds like you're repeating yourself as if we need to hear it, but we're trying to move forward, Mr. President. We heard you say that there was a stream of revenue. As a matter of fact, we can tell you from where it comes, the criminal justice area. So can you please help us understand why you would not want us to correct that? Can you answer that question instead of repeating yourself?
Well, look.
Why wouldn't you want us to correct that, Mr. President of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment? You've been here, what, 12 years now? Is it 13? And have you ever
you've been here longer, and you don't seem to have a problem as the comptroller of the city with a.
And you've only repeated yourself, and you're trying to repeat yourself a third time. And I don't understand why we have to rehash what we already know. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you from another repeat?
why are you repeating yourself?
I'm
with
just
a-
trying to
with a
get
broken
clarity and you're not
argument,
answering the
trying
question
to
as to what we
establish
already
something
know. I think each of the board members,
I mean,
including the mayor, in
explain,
which you sent her the
explain to
letter,
me,
you did
please,
not bother to
please
copy
explain
me
to me,
in the letter, and I
please
am a
explain to
member
me
of the
why
Board of
you do
Estimate
not have a
Apportionment,
problem
just
with a
like
revenue
you are.
stream being
So what
deleted
is your
from the budget.
problem that you don't want the entire
Why-
Board of Estimate and
explain
Apportionment to
that to
know
me.
about the
Can you
error in which
explain
you're
that
so
to me?
eloquently speaking and trying to repeat several times?
No,
I
Comptroller,
don't
could you
get it.
please just
I
explain
just
that to me?
don't get it, Mr. President. What is your problem?
My problem is that we have a revenue stream that was
There it
removed
is.
from the budget, and it was irresponsible to do that with a budget that was already passed from the Board of ENA. Now, if that's going to be a new practice, that's going to be a new practice. I'm not going to take part in that. Not sure what you're talking about from 2019, but last year, if you remember last year,
Last year, I think the Board of Aldermen, the Board of
are
Estimate
you
and
going to allow
Apportionment
me
stayed
to speak
active all the way through the
now,
middle of July.
Comptroller, are you going to
I'm
allow
so
me to
sorry
speak?
for interrupting you
We
again,
can't
sir.
both speak at the same time.
You're right. I'll
Right,
let
so
you
give me
have
an
it.
opportunity. Give me an opportunity. Now, give me an opportunity to speak.
I will do
uninterrupted.
that.
All right. So you continue to point out something that happened in 2019, completely unrelated, because you cannot point out through your history here in the city of St. Louis where a
You're
revenue
incorrect.
stream- are you going to allow me to finish? Where
Not
a-
to lie, but you can tell the
You-
truth
you-
and say
you're
some
not
things
gonna-
that's
I
truthful,
can
but I'm not
understand
gonna
why
allow
you
you to
don't want
lie.
me to
That's a
finish
fact.
because you understand that you have
We're
an
trying to
argument that
understand the
won't stand.
budget that is for fiscal 2022, but you want to take us back to some times where you want to make me incorrect, just like you used to do.
I'm gonna
years
take it.
ago.
I'm gonna
But
take
that's
that
not
as a.
happening right now. I'm not allowing you to take us down your
So
memory
I guess you're
lane.
not gonna allow me to speak.
No, I'm
Yes, you're
not to lie, because you
I
should
can
remember
understand. I can understand
2019 and 2020 as well
because
as I do.
you have
But if you
something
don't
else
tell
up.
me what I remember and what I don't remember. That's what you cannot do.
I
Not
wasn't
today
telling
and
you.
not
I
ever. You
asked.
can say what you remember,
I asked
you
you.
can say what you recall, and you can say what you
Point
know.
out one other
But
case.
when you speak on my behalf,
No, I
I
just
have
said
to tell
point
you,
out.
you are
Point,
not speaking
point out
properly,
one other
because
time.
no other
in
human
the history
being
of
is going to
the
allow you to
history
speak
of
on
your
behalf.
time on this
I am
board.
present here exactly like you are, sir,
No,
and
no,
I can speak for myself.
out
Do
one
not speak
other-
for me. Do
one-
not speak
give me
on
one other
behalf
time.
of me. And
One
then
other
I
time.
will be quiet as
One
long
other
as you're
time.
speaking on for yourself.
One,
Speak for yourself, not
one
for the
other time.
controller of this city, not for the
One
member
other
of the
time,
Board
and
of
I'm the
ENA,
president of the
that's the
Board of Aldermen of
controller.
this city. One other time where you've seen that happen. I'm just saying that I haven't seen it happen. Now, if you've had that happen multiple times, let me know. I've never seen it happen. So now we're in a unique situation. We also are here in the state of Missouri where we are required to pass the balanced budget. By law, we have to do that. The Board of Aldermen cannot vote on an unbalanced budget. And Board Bill number 1 is a board bill that my name is on. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to take that before the full Board of Aldermen, which is why I sent a letter asking for cuts to be identified, right? Everybody seems to be upset about that, but guess what? You wouldn't have to identify any cuts had you not removed a major revenue stream from the budget. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. So let's be clear. It's not me that's causing this conversation. It's the cutting of over $5.5 million from the budget without discussions amongst other members that are involved in that, or even the entire Ways and Means Committee or the Board of Aldermen. We are a separate branch of government, all independently elected, just like everybody else here at the Board of ENA. So please respect that we also have a job to do. And don't ask us to do something that's inappropriate, because we will not do it. Board Bill number 1 has my name on it. And I'm telling you right now, if you identify the cuts, the Board of Aldermen has the power by the charter to do what? Cuts. We can cut. So give us the cuts. We were going to put them in the budget and move the thing. But now we've burned up the little bit of time we have. And we have exactly one more meeting past tomorrow of the Board of Aldermen, and we're stringing this out again. But instead of addressing the issue directly, you all want to hold up on the by-state funding, which to me, hold it up for the next 10 years. But you're gonna have to explain to people why the public transit system in the city of St. Louis stopped. it's gonna be because of petty stuff that's happening on this Board of ENA.
Mayor,
But
I'm sorry,
ultimately,
he's still
President
talking.
you all should
President
take up
Reed.
items 9, 10, and 11.
President Reed,
Yes.
the bi-state funding will not stop because of what we did today. I sent you a letter on Monday identifying additional revenue sources to make up the gap that was identified because of our not taking federal prisoners anymore. And all we have to do is bring the budget back to the Board of ENA and we will make the revenue additions.
Madam Mayor, thank you. That is what I was trying to get your attention, because I did get a copy of your letter, Madam Mayor, where you were responding to the president of the board's letter. However, I did not receive a copy of the letter from him. He has mentioned that the Board of Aldermen can cut. Of course, we do know that. All of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment members know that. He's also mentioning the schedule for the Board of Aldermen, and we're all aware of the current schedule for the Board of Aldermen. But Madam Mayor, if I may, I believe that you're pointing out, and I'm agreeing with you, is that instead of identifying cuts, you've identified revenue, and that you would like to have those revenues added to the budget so that the budget can be balanced. And I am not hearing any help from the president of the board. And in past, we have had issues where we have needed to add revenues to the budget. And we have had the same president of the Board of Aldermen, who is here now, agree with past mayors. That would have been past Mayor Lyda Cruzan, past Mayor Francis Slay. So I don't understand, while of course I've been the comptroller during that time, that this president of the board is not allowing the Ways and Means Committee to send the budget back to the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to add revenues. Instead, he wants to take us through this at today's meeting, to make the public believe that only thing that can be done is cuts. And I just think that's so sad that he's trying to throw a blame off on two individuals that's trying to move the city forward. And he's talking really in a negative manner, which is unnecessary. But I do want to also mention the Board Bill 2, which is the national relief funding that is so important. And we've had no action from your request from the president of the board, who again is saying that we're out of time. I would hope that if he can remember last year's special meetings when the Board of Aldermen requested that the Board of Estimate and Apportionment have several special meetings, as well as the Board of Aldermen, when they were trying to privatize the airport and close the workhouse. So I do know that special meetings, especially at this time of the year, not only is possible, but absolutely necessary. As the president of the board is mentioning, we have an issue. So Madam Mayor, I'm with you. I believe in the solution that you're talking about. I believe it's a viable solution. So Mr. President, once again, what's the problem?
A cursory review of the charter and the state laws will tell you what the problem is. And not to mention the fact that the only way we found out about the missing stream of revenue was through exhaustive questioning. So I'm not sure about some of the other things in that budget. Again, my name is on that budget. Neither one of you all's names are on that budget. So, or if other revenue streams are going to be missing or changed within that budget. So here's what we're going to do. The budget that is right now before the Board of Aldermen Committee, my bill, right, unfortunately is my bill. As the president of the Board of Aldermen, the member of ENA is my bill. Again, unfortunately, given the fact that it has a $5.7 million mysterious hole in it that I didn't know existed, right? That bill isn't going anywhere. what will happen is that the budget that was passed before ENA will go into effect. We're going to introduce another bill that will have the additions, deletions, cuts, or whatever else you want to put in there, along with making sure that we have a review of the budget to make sure all those revenue streams that existed in the thing is still there. So that's what's going to happen.
So I'm sorry, I'm confused.
That happens without extra meetings. That happens without any of the stuff that you're talking about, right? The budget that we sent over to the Board of Aldermen will go into effect on July 1. So you can't say it's going to impact the residents of the city or people at all. It impacts them nothing at all because it automatically goes to effect. We are going to fix it with another bill that another appropriations bill that we will introduce that will give us ample time to review and assure that we've plugged every hole and every problem in this budget. That's what we're going to do. And no amount of talking, no amount of twisting the words or changing around the subject matters or hiding what truly happened is going to change that. You know why? Because my name is on the bill. I'm the primary sponsor of the bill, and I'm telling you uncategorically right now that there is nothing that you all are going to say to make me move forward with a bill that you all somehow mysteriously put a $5.7 million hole in and didn't tell me. And then we had to find out through questioning at Ways and Means that all of a sudden this bill has a $5.7 million hole in it. So forgive me for not having a lot of faith in the fact that somehow I'm gonna send this thing back and it's gonna get right, and I don't have to ask any questions moving forward. I'm sorry, that is not happening. So another bill would be introduced that will allow us for ample time to review and to make sure that the appropriations is correct. But again, if you guys want to hold the $41 million up for public transportation, hold it up till this time next year.
So are we to assume that you're going to have special meetings in order to get this supplemental bill passed before?
The supplemental bill does not have. Yeah, sorry, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, Mayor.
No, I'm just trying to figure out the path forward here. You know, are you going to call a special meetings in order to get this supplemental bill passed? Because we also have Board Bill 2 that if not passed by July 1st is going to have a serious effect on people who are currently receiving rental assistance. They will fall through the cracks. We have funding in there for our youth and for summer youth jobs, which is a huge deterrent of crime with our young people, as well as utility assistance for our seniors and disabled. And so if Board Bill 2 also isn't passed before you recess, we'll have hundreds of or thousands of St. Louisans falling through the cracks in the safety net.
Well, you asked two questions there. You asked about Board Bill 1. Board Bill 1, the supplemental appropriations bill, we can introduce that at any time once we get through all of the different components of what actually would have to be in it. It does not affect Board Bill 1 going into effect the way it stands. So Board Bill 1 would go into effect the way it stands. We will have another board bill introduced to adjust and make any changes that we need to that year's budget going forward. So essentially the discussion on the budget for the near term is over. What we would be doing now is asking the budget director to work with us to put together an appropriations bill that would include any additional changes that we would have to have in that new budget that would start July 1. That's the cleanest, easiest way to do it. It gives us ample time to review everything to make sure that we're doing it correctly. Then for the American Recovery Act funding, we have roughly $8 million sitting there going forward for rental assistance and mortgage assistance that is still in the budget for right now, and it will be in there July 1, right? The only parts that would be missing is the funds for the outside contractors to help us evaluate the applications. And the only reason those funds would be gone away is because the governor has not extended the deadline. But for me, a member of the Board of Aldermen, and us, we found that out from you all yesterday, that apparently the governor is not going to extend the deadline for you. It would have been good to know that 30 or 60 days ago, because we would have had time to make adjustments up until now. We were, as Mayor, as you know, we were waiting for your outside team to finish their evaluation for us to begin doing our things at the Board of Aldermen. If we were doing that at the same time we were doing the budget, and you all are soliciting outside information from people, I think that we would have been crossing paths and not understood where you were going with it. Now we know what your priorities are. So we have something to factor to and to put in a board bill with other things, right, that may come up through our public discussions. But the Board of Aldermen's processes cannot be shortened by anything that happens within the executive branch and outside entities. We still have our public testimony that we have to do. We have committee hearings that we have to do, and all those things that have to be done at the Board of Aldermen in the legislative branch of government. So we're starting that process. We will have hearings next week on Board Bill number 2. I understand that you sent something over related to Board Bill number 2. I'll look at that and assure that all the committee members and everybody has a copy of that. And we will begin that process. So, but to say that everything is falling because of Board Bill number 2, I guess the other thing is everybody pretty much knew when we were going down at the Board of Aldermen, and if the executive branch knew about this July deadline and waited till 2 weeks before the end of June to tell us that all of a sudden the world is going to end if you guys don't do this in the next 2 weeks, I don't think that that's fair and equitable to the people of the city of St. Louis, let alone the members of the board that you're asking to try to jump through hoops to do something that's nearly impossible.
Madam Mayor, I am
that's where
available
we're
for a meeting next week. I think the president of the board was finished. I'm
Well,
available for
I
a special.
wasn't.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You
No,
had paused. I thought you were finished, but we were talking about
No, you
moving the
weren't.
city
No, Comptroller,
forward.
no, you weren't, but that's
You were just basically condemning the Board of Estimate and Apportionment hearing, even though you are a member, and you're trying to make the difference between the executive branch and the legislative branch in terms
Well,
of
if you would allow me to finish.
not. And I think it's fine.
Thanks
What
for
you're
telling me
saying
what
is
I
now
was
to
about
us
to
to let
say.
us know that you won't be ready as a Board of Aldermen is what I'm hearing from you, that you're not only not going to be ready, you're not going to participate in making sure that we can
I'm the
get
only one here
budget,
participating, making sure that the
in a
voters,
balanced
that the city
revenue,
stays
and that you
with
are
a
not
balanced budget. Let's just be clear about
allowing the
that.
relief money to go out in a timely manner, because you just talked about hearings that you were going to start. And I'm just stunned to hear that you're
Just
going to
knowing that
slow
the Board of
down.
Aldermen going to have
You're
hearings
going
on
to slow
something.
down the relief payments to the citizens.
You-
But as
so the
long as
Board
you
of-
say it publicly, then everybody just heard it.
stop. Y'all got, Madam Comptroller, you
I'm
have
just
to.
stunned that you think that people are not paying attention to what's
They're
really
not
going
paying
on.
attention that the Board of
Last
Aldermen
year,
has
in
to have
2020,
hearings.
Mr.
to
President,
pass
if you
stuff.
remember, we had an unprecedented number of special meetings in the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, and to accommodate the Board of Aldermen, as well as special meetings at the Board of Aldermen, so that you could get past what you had on your agenda item and what you wanted to be put forth, which was the close work
What
of
does
the
that have to do with an
also
unbalanced
the
budget?
privatization of the airport and the Board of
What does
Estimate
that have
Apportionment
to do
did
with an
accommodate
unbalanced
you
and
with
legal
special
budget?
meetings each time. So
What does
now
that
that you're
have to
going to
do
say
with
that
an
everything is
unbalanced and legal
unprecedented
budget?
and that you've never heard of it before, it speaks loud
I
of
ask you
just
one more
petty
time. What
politics
does
on your
that have to
part.
do
So
with
I
an
don't
unbalanced
understand
and
why you
legal
think
budget?
we don't get you, or why you
I'm not saying you
feel
don't.
like we never heard this before. But it's just sad
Have you
to
had
see you
revenue
act in
streams
this
deleted out
manner
of the budget
with the new
before?
mayor and thinking that this is wool over our eyes. We get you,
That would
Mr.
be
President.
that
You
would be a
just told us that
that
you're
you
getting
won't
ready
have
to slow
support.
down the city. And that is a sad commentary for someone with your experience and what you are trying to put forth to the citizens. It's not going to play well with me as the comptroller, and it's not going to play well with the citizens at all. You're slowing us down, and that is shameful, Mr. President. That is shameful. You ought to be ashamed that you're going to slow down this city in that manner because your name is on the field.
Funding the bi-state.
Shameful.
And
Shameful.
the comptroller of the city is okay with an unbalanced budget.
You ought to be ashamed.
Revenue
You cannot. Are you moving to end the meeting? Is that what you're doing? What was
well,
your
I'm
move?
okay. I'm okay with ending this meeting. It's really not going anywhere. You all are trying to browbeat me.
Madam Mayor, I'm available for a special
that's
meeting next week.
outrageous. You guys,
and I think we have to do what we have to do. I do have powers to move our city forward. If we have to have emergency contracts that we may need to keep the water running and to keep the trash picked up. Mr. President of the board he's just let us know that he's not in with us with the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. And I think that's a shame that he's operating strictly in his legislative role. And in that role, he's decided to slow the city down. That is a sad commentary for a man that has tried to run for the mayor and failed. Is this how he repays us? Yes, I said it. You ran for the mayor and you failed, and you have run each time since you've been the president of the board. And I assume that you were tired of being the president of the board when you run for mayor. What can I say? I mean, you're acting like you don't want to do the job of the president of the board, and in your official role on the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, you only want to take on the role as a legislator, and I think that's wrong because you got the job not only on the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, but also the Board of Aldermen, and you're only choosing to do one. That's sad. That's a sad commentary, and I just don't know why you're acting like that. What? Again, I ask, is your problem?
And so,
President Reed,
why are you acting like that? Why are you?
Because you have a problem and it's so obvious, and you think it's you trying to put the wool over our eyes. When all you can do, all you should do is what you've done many times in the past: is send the budget back to the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. We would balance the budget and we would move the city forward. You decided that you're going to conjure up a new board bill that is going to correct what you call a board bill that's not balanced. And I'm just stunned that you want to run the executive branch from the legislative branch. That is a stunning development of what you're just telling us today. But at least we know what you're planning, because you wouldn't even let us know that until we took you to task. And that's the purpose of what I'm doing. I'm taking you to task. And now I understand what you're doing.
Because the role of the people shows that we cannot violate state law by working the past.
President Reed, we are not violating state law.
Okay.
The amount that you're talking about appeared after we passed the budget because the federal government took their detainees out. Let me finish. They took their detainees out. We did not know that that was going to happen. But I have since sent you a letter that says how we're going to plug the revenue hole. And we don't have to make cuts to the budget. We worked with Paul Payne, our budget director, who we have trusted in the city for over 20 years, to find the money to plug the revenue hole that's in the letter that I sent on June 14th, which was Monday. And since we're talking about it, those amounts are 1.1 million in reduced detainee housing from Fund 1010 under Department 633. We're adding 4.3 million in ground emergency medical transport revenues and an additional 300,000 from the American Recovery Act, which gives us the opportunity to use these funds to plug revenue holes. We have $517 million to plug revenue holes, and we are asking for an additional 300,000 to plug the additional to the additional 17 million that was in the budget that was passed on May 1st. So this is something that came up, and you know, budgets aren't static documents. They ebb and they flow. Revenue comes and revenue goes. And the federal government decided to remove their detainees from our facilities after May 1st. We didn't know that was going to happen. And so we proposed ways to plug the revenue holes. Now, since we have a plan, we would like to have the budget back, and nobody is asking you to pass an unbalanced budget. Once it comes back to E&A, we can plug the revenue holes, and then we will have a balanced budget. So, and we also know, and I'm not new to the rodeo, I'm new to this office, but I have watched this process in city government for many, many years, and I know that it is not unprecedented to ask for special meetings of the Board of Aldermen. And there are times when you can take away the rules to pass things through in a timely fashion, things that have a time deadline, like the budget, like the spending of direct relief funds. All we are asking you to do is to help us move the city forward and take care of our 297,000 plus residents of the city who most have elected us to these positions to look out for them. And hopefully do that by July 1st. And it's not an unprecedented act to restrict the rules, to move the rules. It's not an unprecedented act to have more meetings of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to get the city's business done. You know, we didn't know that the governor was going to also move the deadline forward to July 1st. That was a surprise to us as well. And so we were trying to move as fast as we could and also appeal to the governor to try to reverse that decision. He did not, so we have to move forward. And all that the comptroller and I are asking is that we take the necessary steps by suspending the rules, scheduling more meetings to wrap up the city's business by July 1st.
Okay, couple things. First thing is that, you know, I hear what you're saying that that the federal government said that they will no longer be sending detainees to the city of St. Louis. We're hearing—
No, they decided to remove the detainees that they currently had in our prisons.
All right, we are hearing the opposite. We heard that the city chose to end that, and that's what was—
That is not true. I am sitting right here and telling you right now that is not true.
But that's what was originally reported coming from your office. Now, since then, given the impact on the budget, the talking points have changed on it, and that's okay. Now, here's the main thing to keep in mind. What would we hope to get? What type of time savings or savings would we have by going through all the hoops that you and the comptroller are talking about versus what I've outlined, which means that this current budget, the budget that you guys voted on, will become law July 1. First day of July, midnight, boom, when it changes over, that thing becomes the budget, right?
With all due respect, President Reed, that's passive aggressive, and we have given you a plan.
It's not passive aggressive, that's reality.
We've given you a plan to plug the revenue hole.
So here's what my commitment to you is: to implement that plan in another board bill, because why change everything and to try to bring the Board of Aldermen back 3 or 4 more times to full sessions of the Board of Aldermen, have an emergency meeting of the Board of E&A in the next week or so, and do all of this stuff, and to do it in a rush fashion. And again, I'm telling you right now, as the bill sponsor, I'm not comfortable with making just these, fly-by-night changes in this budget, given the fact that revenue streams have been deleted from it, right? So we are going to take our time to make sure that we have a good solvent budget in place, and we're going to make sure that the next bill that we introduce to fix these issues within the budget is going to be one that is comprehensive, that takes into account all the different aspects and make sure that that budget is a sound budget. So that's what we're going to do.
Right, so we are in agreement that you're going to do nothing.
No, that's going to take doing a lot. What I'm not going to do is to allow what happened already. And I'll be honest with you, it does not give me a lot of comfort that the other 2 members of the Board of E&A just look at this like it's no big deal, just get over it. Well, it was my name on it. I'm the head of the legislative branch of government. I'm the president of the Board of Aldermen. I would have been taking the bill to the full Board of Aldermen with my name on it, and every one of those members that voted in favor of it, that supported it in committee, would have been looking at me had they adopted that thing in the law as an unbalanced budget, and they would have had that.
And I'm sorry, Mr. President, but who actually signs all of the bills?
I do.
The mayor. Exactly. So I am giving you a plan. I am giving you a plan.
And you're going to have
plug the revenue holes that was made with our budget director.
We will use the plan. We will use the plan.
You can use the plan now.
Why would you?
What's keeping you from using the plan now?
Okay, how about this? I'll introduce a bill from the floor tomorrow to include the things that the budget director is talking about. So why would that be a problem with you? Why would you have a problem with that?
Will that be passed by July 1?
It doesn't have to be.
I have a problem with it because it's not going to be a part of Board Bill 1. Board Bill 1 is. I just wanted to, from the comptroller standpoint, the people who understand Board Bill. Mr. President, you asked, was there a problem? I'm trying to give you my answer. Could you listen, please?
Yes.
Board Bill 1 is the board bill for the budget for the city of St. Louis. What you're saying is that you want to introduce a second bill in order to indicate a budget as well. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
No.
Then what then would correcting Board Bill 1 with a second board bill indicate? I thought that meant 2 board bills, Board Bill 1 plus the one that you just said that you were going to introduce tomorrow. Is that not 2 board bills? That's my question. Is it 1 board bill for the budget or is it 2? Please explain what you're saying that you would introduce tomorrow. Does it have to do with the budget at all?
What I would introduce tomorrow, if we have the information in time from the floor, would be a supplemental appropriations bill that would take into account the current holes that we know are in the budget. But what I also would charge Ways and Means with is doing a deep dive on the budget to make sure that no other revenue streams, everything else that we voted on in E&A is what is appropriate and is accounted for in the new board bill. The new board bill would not be a budget. It would not take the place of the budget. The current budget that both you, Madam Comptroller, and you, the Mayor, voted out of Board of E&A would come into law day 1, which is why I have no idea why we spent the last 45 minutes talking about it. That will come into effect day 1, the bill that both of you all proposed. But both of you, it does again give me some pause and make me nervous that both of you all seem to have a problem with me introducing a second bill and giving the board ample time to look at the changes, because again, the bill goes in effect July 1. The city has a budget. The city operations continue because they're budgeted. Whatever we voted on in that budget
President
When we
Reed, you're
come-
acting like we have 8 million changes. We have three
All right, you have,
changes. We
you
have
have
three changes, but let me ask you something while we're at it.
I'm assuming.
Has there ever been a time, aside from last year, that you have failed to send the budget back to ENA before July 1?
There's never been a time where we've had a revenue stream.
No, that's not
we've never had
the
that.
answer.
That-
Besides last year.
That's the answer. That's why we're having this whole discussion. You all want
Madam
to,
Mayor, I
it's
can
the
answer it.
elephant in the room.
Madam Comptroller, do
It's
you
the
know?
elephant in the room.
There has never been a time that the board,
And never been a time that that revenue stream's been
Mayor,
removed.
Madam
in the middle of the
Comptroller,
night.
Apportionment received the budget back from the board, from the Committee of Ways and Means. They sent it back. But the president of the board failed to pass it on the floor. So he's not admitting that he has a history of not having the budget passed on the floor. That happened last year, but that same budget that had come back to the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, and there were estimates that were introduced to add and decrease, that happened. And that was the budget that was final passed.
Yeah.
This president of the board did not place that budget on the floor for passage. It was in the, I guess you call it, the informal calendar, which that was unprecedented. But what, Madam Mayor, I'm seeing from my experience is that in the language that I'll use here is what the people understand. He's handling us, or he's handling you, as I would put it. Oh yes, oh my God, oh my God.
I'm not, Madam Comptroller, I'm not
Imagine
gonna
you
allow. I'm
don't
not,
like that very
look,
much.
you're taking this to a whole new,
Well,
I'm not.
well,
I'm
you
not
said
gonna
that you
allow
were
you
going to
to
do
do
a
that.
supplemental appropriation.
Look, I'm
even
not
before we
going to
go
allow
the
you
new
to do
year.
that.
And that's what I don't understand when we have a current budget in front of us.
I'm
that
not
you
going to
refuse
allow you to
send
do
back,
that, Madam
And
Comptroller.
then you're saying that you want to allow me to tell it like it is. Tell
Well,
it like
you're
it is. I'm gonna put
you're
it flat out
you're-
there from the
you-
people in the
you're
back.
being-
The
you're
people in
being
the back, please
irresponsible.
hear me. This is what this
Irresponsible.
president of the board, and that's unprecedented. And I think
Okay.
it's sad and it's shameful because you
Madam
didn't do
Comptroller,
it with
could you
the
please
Mayor
tell
Ryder
us if you've
Cruzen,
ever
and
seen
you
a
didn't
revenue
do it with
stream
Mayor
deleted from the budget?
Francis Slay, but you're
Have you?
choosing to do it now, and that's shameful.
Have
And
you?
it's basically in our
Have you
face.
ever?
That's a shame. That's a shame.
Obviously, the comptroller has never seen a revenue stream removed from the budget while the board of Aldermen and Ways and Means are deliberating on the budget. And Ways and Means just happen upon it through their.
I know how to fix it. That's the
now-
important point. that
we are
you
proposing a solution
You're
today.
proposing a
I'm
We are
glad
solution.
you know
proposing a
how to fix
solution
it. We
today.
will.
That's right.
We are
guess
proposing a
what?
solution
I've
today.
accepted the solution. We're gonna put
But
it
then
in
you can,
another
so
bill.
then you can send the budget
No.
back, since you have
No.
accepted the solution.
You've
Let me-
determined
You
that
just said you said
have
accepted the
supplemental
solution.
appropriation,
All
and
right.
that's what I call handling us.
Madam
Here's-
Comptroller, I
here's
have a
what-
question
here's what-
for
here's
you.
what
Madam
we're-
Comptroller, I have a question
ma'am.
for you.
Yes,
Are-
Madam Mayor.
Are these actions, would these actions jeopardize our credit rating at all?
Oh, but
Yes,
a
Madam Mayor.
$5.7
I'm not-
million.
I'm asking you,
Madam
Comptroller.
That
Comptroller,
the
come
president
on.
of the
That's-
Board of
that's-
Aldermen, who is the president of the legislative
so-
branch,
so-
is trying to handle
but
determine
having a
how in which the executive branch shall be run. That is a possibility that will be looked
my God.
unfavorably.
Oh my.
But
All right,
of
so
course, the
you're-
president of the board doesn't want to hear
This-
facts. He only has his own one fact.
this is-
And
this
the
is-
one
this
fact
is-
that he
oh
has
my
is
God.
that he is going to handle the budget the way he wants it handled. And we
Look,
hear you
look,
loud and clear, Mr. President.
this is-
You
this is-
and I and the
this
Madam
is-
Mayor
this-
have the same issue.
And
And
we're
you're the
going to
only
get it
one on
done
the Board
in
of
a
Estimate
way
and Apportionment
that's
that wants to
responsible
handle
in
it
a
with the
way
supplemental
that
appropriation.
allows
You're not
appropriate
even allowing a vote
deliberation
here at the
of
Board of Estimate and Apportionment as to how it should be handled. You have just told us in our face. You
Okay.
said, look ahead, this is what I'm gonna do. And I was
No,
fine.
here's what I'm
Yes,
telling you.
Madam
Board Bill-
Comptroller.
Board Bill 1 has my name on it.
Madam Comptroller,
have your name on it,
I
but-
agree.
Madam Mayor, how many board?
I have to vote on that board
ordinances
bill
will have
not
your
once,
name on
not
them,
twice,
Madam
but
Mayor?
3 times.
All. All
That's what I
of the
thought.
ordinances will have my
That's what I
name
thought.
on it.
I didn't
Yeah,
think
your-
I
it
was in
has
the
your
wrong
name on
city.
it. It has your name
And
on
so
it.
the
I
board
have to vote
bills,
on it. I have to vote on it, not once, not twice, minimum of 3 times at the Board of Aldermen. I have to deliberate on it. Then I have to sign it, and then you put the final signature on it. Everything else is
You're
done.
not
up to
giving
that
me that
point.
opportunity.
So-
You're not giving me that opportunity.
You
You're not
bring it
giving me
up,
that
you-
opportunity, but Madam
you will
Comptroller,
ha-
Madam
you will have
Comptroller,
an-
I,
You will have an opportunity.
excuse
Madam
me,
Mayor, may I
President
make a
Reed.
motion? I
Yes,
would like to
ma'am.
move that the Board of Estimate and Apportionment would move that Ways and Means would send the budget back to the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. That's my motion.
I second it.
Means nothing.
It's okay, it's been moved in second.
And I can tell you.
It's been
vote
moved
on
and
it.
properly
Vote on it. It's not
seconded.
Coming back because it's still my budget.
Mrs. Green, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Comptroller Green,
Aye.
President Reed.
Are you abstaining? Are you not
Is
voting?
that an extension?
It's a nothing motion. You don't have the power to do it. You all need to read the charter. You don't have the power to direct the executive branch of government. So the motion means nothing. So
But
I'm
you
not-
have the
I'm not
power,
gonna
President.
engage
I'm glad
in-
you,
I'm
I'm
not
glad you
gonna-
talked about
I'm
that.
not
You have
going
the
to
power to,
engage
but you
in
have the power to
silly
do
motions. I'm
certain
not gonna
things,
do
but
it.
you have the
And-
power to send the budget back.
And I'm
You have
telling you
that
right
power.
now.
And this is
that-
not unprecedented. Anything that we're asking for
Look,
is not unprecedented. I've been
look, I
watching
think
this
we've- I
process
think
for
we've-
years.
I think we've
And I
discussed
think
this.
that it is possible for you to suspend the rules and to pass the
That-
budget and
that
send
is
it back so we
possible,
can
but I-
amend it with the revenue that has been proposed in conjunction with our budget director. And like I said before, revenue ebbs and flows. And so revenue is not a static thing. It is a variable in the budget. And these are the variables, given the information that we have from previous years, which we don't know what's going to happen. We saw what happened in 2020. We had a global pandemic, which threw our entire budget out of balance for many, many months. And so we were able to do things at the end of the year to move money around in order to balance the budget for fiscal year 2021. So you are not giving me the opportunity as the mayor who has proposed the 3 things that will fix the revenue hole for this year in order to pass Board Bill 1 and pass a balanced budget. I'm not asking for anything that you haven't done before with previous mayors.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You actually are. We had a budget that had revenue streams in it. A revenue stream was wiped out of it, and that information was not shared with the legislative branch of government. Me, as the president of the Board of Aldermen, the person with his name on the bill, I should be more outraged, and I should have been very, very upset by that, but I wasn't. I just said, well, took it in stride and said, let me send a letter over to the mayor's office so she can identify.
And I sent you one right back with a
But-
solution.
let-
And you're not allowing us to,
let me
you're not
finish.
allowing us to
Allow-
execute that solution.
Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish. Now, what's being asked is that the Board of Aldermen has one more meeting next week, but somehow between now and then, just started bringing the Board of Aldermen back in over and over and over and over again.
No, you
with
can
hopes-
suspend the
Hold
rules
on a
and
second.
do everything in
Let-
one meeting. I
let
know
me-
how the process works. I come from the
we can't-
legislature.
Well,
Don't you remember?
I remember that, but one of the things that you probably don't know about the Board of Aldermen is that we cannot do that. We cannot do everything in one meeting. We have to have the board bill read 3 separate times out loud on the floor of the Board of Aldermen at 3 separate meetings. And those meetings have to be, and the last meeting has to be spaced apart. And if there are changes in the bill, that increases the timeline also. So what you're asking for cannot be done. What I am going to do, I am going with your recommendations and the budget director, what you're saying that the budget director helped you put together. I will work with you all on those things. We're going to put them in a separate bill, and we will introduce that bill to adjust that budget. But the budget as it stands, the budget that both you all voted on, that's the thing that
You
unfortunately.
voted on it too.
I
You voted on it too.
I voted on it also, yeah. And again,
Yeah, you've been
thanks for-
leaving that out the whole time, that
Thank-
you're just trying to say
thank-
that Darlene and I were the only ones who voted on. You
No,
voted yes
no,
too.
the reason I say both of you all, because now both of you all seem to have just this harsh reaction to the bill that you voted on becoming law and then us still being able to fix it. I don't get
You're
that.
not allowing us to fix it.
I told
all
you
you
that
have
I'm
to
gonna,
do-
I'm
all
gonna
you have
introduce
to
the
do-
bill to fix it. What else
All
can
you
I tell
have
you?
to do is ask the chair of
what's the
Ways and
difference?
Means to
What's the
pass the
difference?
bill and send it back to E&A. We
Can
will
you-
plug
can-
the
can
revenue
you-
hole
can you-
and we'll be done.
Can you explain to me
Easy.
that there is no difference? There is no difference. Only difference
Yes, there
is.
is. Yes,
You know
there
what-
is. We
You know what
we
the difference is for me?
You are creating more work for yourself and more work for the Board of Aldermen
Oh, no.
by the solutions that you have, by what you're proposing. I
Okay.
am sure that the board
Look, as
doesn't
the
want to.
president, as the longest serving president of the Board of Aldermen in the history of the city of St. Louis, I understand this role backwards and forwards, inside out, and I understand the role of the Board of E&A, and I understand how much work it takes to do any of these things we're talking about. And
If you understand that, then you can send that bill right back.
What I'm saying to you, Madam Mayor, is that what you all are talking about is a lot more work, but not just a lot more work. You also, at the same time, are asking me to take yet another leap of faith in hopes that everything else that are in it, because you're saying to the board, essentially the Board of Aldermen, you guys do not take any more time to
No.
do your due diligence
No.
on this thing,
No,
just to
no.
accept what we're saying
You're
and
saying
move it out because
I,
it's
not
time.
we,
And we're not. We are
I
not
am
going
saying,
to do that.
I am saying
We're not gonna do it.
that, and I sent this letter to all of the people on the Ways and Means Committee,
Okay.
that these are the solutions. Please send it back and we will plug the budget hole and send it right back. That's all we are saying.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We are
Okay,
going-
so you're gonna
we
take the
are-
passive
we are-
aggressive role.
No,
okay.
I'm gonna take the reality road. I'm
You're gonna take
the
the
only one.
passive aggressive role.
I'm the
Okay,
only one on this
Okay.
call today that's on the reality road.
Okay.
Reality road is
okay.
the bill that you both of you all voted on
And you too.
will
and you
become
too,
law.
And you
Becomes
too.
law July 1. Doesn't the citizens with no services impacted? Nothing's impacted by that. Now, we need to take time to identify any other changes that have to come into that budget and move those through a supplemental appropriations bill, which is what we're going to do. And
That's
then the
what-
board at least
What you
has
are
a minute to
proposing,
look at
what
those.
you are proposing is what usually happens during the year as we identify the changes in revenue and the changes in expenses as we do that on a quarterly basis. When we get those reports from the budget director's office that says how much we've spent and how much we still have left in those accounts, then our department directors make decisions to move money either within the budget or they bring those changes to the Board of E&A. So what you are proposing already happens. I know the process too, President Reed, and I know that this is simpler than what you are proposing.
No, it's
It
not.
is.
No,
It is,
no,
and that's okay. That's okay. We're gonna agree to disagree on this,
That's
and
not,
that's okay.
and
that's okay.
That is okay. Can we adjourn now?
Madam
Because
Mayor,
you
I
got-
agree.
you guys
with
wore me out,
It's
but-
unfortunate
Now,
that we.
Madam Comptroller, yes, ma'am.
I agree with you. It's unfortunate that we have this problem with the president of the board. I'm hopeful that
So
as
it's
we
my
move
problem
forward,
now.
that we can move forward in a manner more professional, that he would understand that there's a new mayor here and that you are
Is it-
actively trying to move the city forward. So I think this will be my third time saying I am available for a special meeting next week. I do believe we will benefit. And I think that the Board of Aldermen perhaps can catch up with the Board of Estimate and Apportionment.
Yes.
Because we're not gonna leave the city behind. We're gonna move it forward. The president of the board has pointed out where he may fall short as he needs to introduce several meetings on his own time. as opposed to special meetings. But I think we owe it to our citizens to move as rapidly as we can to prevent some of those kinds of things that the summer is all about, which is, our youth not having programming. We want the recreational programming to be available. The funds are available to us. The Board of Aldermen could be a good partner. I will stay hopeful that at some point that the president of the board will change. But as we have it now, there's nothing we can do. So I do introduce, I would say, may we adjourn. I will introduce that as a motion.
Second,
Second.
we
Thank you,
are
Madam
adjourned.
Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Comptroller and President Reed.
All right,
Right,
thank
Reed.
you all. Have a good.
Have a good
rest of
rest of the
week.
day.
All right,
You too.
bye-bye.